Fox News alert right now. 3 U.S. Army Special Forces soldiers were killed and 2 others were wounded in an ambush attack. It happened in Niger this week, leading to questions to the extent of the U.S. military presence on that continent and the exact rules of engagement we thought had improved. Joining us right now is someone who has been on the ground in Niger, former Green Beret commander himself, Fox News contributor, retired Lieutenant Colonel Michael Waltz. Michael, it was easy to get lost after the carnage from Las Vegas and other things going on here domestically in what happened in Africa. Maybe you can put it in perspective. First off, the rules of engagement, have they changed?
Well, not necessarily, Brian. Our forces on the ground can always defend themselves. So if attacked, they can hit back. What is a little bit different is if they want to take offensive action. For instance, maybe they receive a tip that there's a training camp over the next horizon, and you want to take offensive action against it, you will have to seek higher approval. Under the Obama administration, it had to go all the way back to Washington or back to the headquarters. Now folks out in the field can give that approval. So
what is our function in Africa? Mostly training, but to do what?
Well, in this case in Niger, it is in an incredibly difficult neighborhood. To the northwest, you have Mali and al-Qaeda in the Maghreb. To the south, you have Boko Haram in Nigeria. To the northeast, very importantly, you have a growing ISIS presence in Libya. Libya completely fell apart after we overthrew the Gaddafi regime, but then the Obama administration really didn't do anything to help rebuild it. So, we're working with our Nigerian allies. We're working with their army. These special forces are not the types that are necessarily flying around kicking in doors, but they are embedded with the local military and the local militias to train them and to help them to eventually be able to defend themselves.
But, it looks like, Colonel, from the outside perspective, that someone tipped off the attackers about the American presence, wouldn't you think?
It looks like it. My understanding is they were going out to meet some of the tribal elders, and then they were hit on their way back, and they were ambushed. And again, these guys, it's not like Iraq. These are Green Berets. They're not riding around in armored vehicles with, a lot of air support overhead. They're in pickup trucks. They're in the same types of vehicles as their partner forces, and they're lightly armed. And, Brian, I think it's worth reminding folks that we're in 70 to 80 countries around the world every day as we speak, doing these types of missions because the long war is helping our allies fight for themselves.
But, Colonel, this is what the president's been saying. We're trying to suppress the terror, the growing terror threat, because they're coming into the West and blowing themselves up and creating havoc. But we're doing the fighting and blocking for Europe. They could provide some special forces. I know France has been active, but what about everybody else?
Well, I agree with you, and that's been the president's message to NATO, is you have to get into this counterterrorism fight. The French have been very active next door in Mali. They're also active in Niger because there's a lot of French uranium that powers their electrical grid that comes out of Niger. But big picture, as we squeeze in Iraq and in Syria, they're moving into Africa, into Afghanistan, in the Philippines. Brian, we're in a global war against Islamic extremism, and the president's right. Our allies need to step up.
All right, Colonel, thanks so much. We do not want to forget those continuing to fight in the shadows, not getting any credit, and we only see the story pop up, sadly, after casualties so often.
70, 80 countries every day as we speak.
Colonel, thanks so much.